Hello and welcome to another episode of Leadership Hacks. I hope you hackers are all doing well and looking forward to this episode, which I'm really excited about. It must have been about 2 weeks ago where I reached out to Alison and I sent one of my cheeky messages and it read something like this. Hi Alison, I don't really believe in hypnotherapy, but I think it might be something because I'm seeing lots of different people who are hypnotherapists, and I thought I'd reach out to you because your content looks cool. Would you mind coming on a podcast and just having an open discussion about what you do and what hypnotherapy is all about? And guess what? She said yes. And she's here right now. She's here right now. Alison Snee, thanks for joining and thanks for replying and accepting the challenge of having an open conversation about hypnotherapy. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. And I must say, when I got your message, I didn't quite know how to take it, whether it was a little bit cheeky or whether to respond and agree to come on. But I decided I'd give you a chance and come on the show, tell you what it's all about.
And here you are now. I have you locked in my virtual room. You are not getting out of this. It's too late. It's too late for that. But genuinely, one of the things I would like to say is thank you for responding positively. Because, as I said, hypnotherapy is one of those things that, if I'm being brutally honest, I thought was something to do with hypnosis and going back to the Uri Geller days and things like that. I was like, what the hell? How could that possibly help me? But equally, what I would say is over time and with maturity, I have learned that there are certain things that I have done or experiences I've had through my career where I could have managed them in a completely different way. And I want to get into that a little bit more, but I guess my first question to you is, what is hypnotherapy?
So, hypnotherapy is a therapeutic modality that is used to help people create positive change. That's it in a nutshell.
Sorry, to help people create.
Positive change and move forward in a positive way, whether that be through easing stress or anxiety or boosting confidence or overcoming phobias. So it's a brain-based therapy that helps people create change and transformation and move forward in a positive way.
So is it something that would benefit everybody, or is it only if you are going through difficulty?
I think it helps everyone. One of the amazing things about it is it really does help de-stress people. And sometimes people don't even realise they are stressed until it comes to the end of the day and actually they're really wired and they might go on their phone and start doom scrolling and then find that they can't get to sleep. A lot of people don't realise that they're stressed when they actually are, and this is a really amazing therapy to ease stress and help people switch from that fight-flight mode to the rest and digest mode.
Rest and digest. I love that as a caption. I think for myself, Alison, when I look back at my career, there was a time where I really struggled. I had two sick parents. We were going through COVID at the same time. Because of COVID, and some of my property business was really struggling on its knees. And I did that thing that too many leaders, and certainly too many male leaders, do, which is tried to have a stiffer upper lift and just grin and bear it and get on with it. And upon reflection, I think I would have benefited from speaking to somebody. I was definitely had poor mental health at that period of time. If I'd come to you at that time, what would you have said to me and what kind of discussion may we have had?
I would have said to you, what you're going through is absolutely normal, for one. I myself struggled with mental health challenges at a time probably around 7 years ago when I had multiple life situations that all came in all at once and really filled up my metaphorical stress bucket and, tipped it over the edge. So it's absolutely normal for the brain to respond in that way, to feel overwhelmed and, to feel like you can't cope. So I take each of my clients through a initial consultation where I explain exactly what's going on in the brain, which gives them a real sense of comfort and control and empowerment. And this in itself is sometimes a real light bulb moment for people to realise, actually, there's nothing wrong. I'm not broken. This is the brain's way of dealing with stress and overwhelm.
It's interesting where you said there that it's completely normal, because I can tell you for one, when I was going through that, it did not feel completely normal or common, I should say. I felt like I was the person suffering. Everybody else around me was fine or unaware, and hence why I guess I wanted to suppress it. Just coming back to your thoughts around that, are there several people who suffer with poor mental health who try to suppress this? Is it as common as you're saying it is?
I think so. And the thing with stress, it can creep up after over days, weeks, months, or even years without people even realising until one day it just hits them and suddenly they're exhausted, overwhelmed, struggling to switch off at the end of the day. And their brains have been racing for so long, and it's like they've forgotten how to slow down. And then that can really affect sleep and mood and relationships, and that only adds to the problem.
Yeah, and I can certainly attest to that. I think everything you've said there, and maybe it is that creep. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. You just accept that you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, catching a train at 6:45, going to work, getting back from work at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, doing a bit more work or thinking about what's going to happen the next day, preparing for that, going to sleep, waking up, and literally eat, sleep, and repeating. I guess you can get into is it bad habits? Would you call that bad habits? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you get into this default mode where you're just on autopilot basically and
Yeah.
just surviving each day, not really thriving, not really enjoying it. You're just getting through the day.
Alison, can you tell me, why did you transition from working in business development and marketing for large companies to retraining as a hypnotherapist?
That's a really good question. So I've had a long-standing interest in psychology and the mind-body connection. Really interested in yoga, meditation, and the science, neuroscience behind how we work as humans. For a long time, I've been wanting to work in a profession that gave me a sense of meaning and purpose, one that would allow me to support people and make a positive difference in their lives. So I was researching different modalities, different types of professions that I could retrain in when I had this life challenge myself and my mental health took a bit of a nosedive. And then I thought, I'm going to try this hypnotherapy thing, see if this will help me. And that's when it really did help. And it made me want to retrain in that particular type of therapy.
And you say it really did help. How, in what way?
Okay, so I had about a year of not sleeping properly, high anxiety, feeling really low, not really going out much anymore, not being sociable. It changed my whole personality. And basically, yeah, solution-focused hypnotherapy is a style of hypnotherapy that I got help with. And it helped reduce anxiety. It helped me to sleep better. I started to engage in the things that I used to enjoy, hobbies, exercise, socialising. It really did shift something within me.
And now you're doing that. You're sitting on the other side of the desk and you're helping others to have that same level of realization.
Yeah, exactly. And helping them to overcome similar challenges in themselves.
Okay, so to a cynic like me, and there are other cynics who are out there, what's the biggest misconceptions that people have about hypnotherapy?
So a common one is that it's not an effective way to improve well-being and mindset. A lot of people associate hypnotherapy with stage hypnosis, like, Darren Brown, Paul McKenna, making people do things on stage like cluck like chickens, being silly for entertainment purposes. All they associate it with mind control, something a bit devious, but it's very different to stage hypnosis, and it's not mind control, it's for positive use.
Okay, and it's interesting you say that because all of those names that you mentioned there, it's exactly where my mind goes. What do you think needs to happen then to shift that mindset and those thoughts around what hypnotherapy is?
There's education that's needed. So a lot more people are discovering that it's actually a very credible type of therapy and that, it's not at all like stage hypnosis, but there's definitely more education that is needed.
Yeah, and I think this is part of that education, right? People like you and I, excuse me, having these conversations about what hypnotherapy is and who can benefit from it.
Absolutely.
So sticking with that theme, one of the things that I see with leaders and prospective leaders is, and let me give you an example. A manager, somebody gets a promotion to become a manager and to lead people, and they're overcome with a feeling of, well, let's call it imposter syndrome. They feel like they don't belong, they don't feel like they're not worthy, they feel like they're not capable of doing that role, although the organisation is saying, actually, we believe in you and you are capable of doing this. Can hypnotherapy help with somebody like that, or is imposter syndrome not something that is on the list?
Yeah, it can really help with this. So hypnotherapy helps by quieting that inner voice that says, I'm not enough or I'm not worthy of this. And it helps people tap into that part of the brain that is confident and positive and rational. It's like you at your best. And when we access this part of the brain, you're able to think differently and focus more on the positives, what's going well, what you're capable of, and where you want to go next.
So is that in line then with having a positive mindset? Are you doing a lot of positive mindset type of work in trying to build somebody's confidence up?
Yeah, there's a lot of positive psychology that goes into hypnotherapy.
Do you feel that the subconscious has an impact on decision making, and therefore the decision making that one would need to make as a leader? And if so, what is that?
Yeah, subconscious has a big role in decision making. It's actually working behind the scenes all the time, even when we don't even realise it. So people in leadership positions, they often aim to make logical, rational decisions, but a lot of what drives those decisions happens beneath the surface. Things like past experiences, ingrained beliefs and habits all live in that subconscious part of the brain, and they can subtly influence how someone reacts, especially when they're under pressure. So when you are under pressure, your brain can fall back into those patterns, the subconscious patterns that the brain already knows. And some of those are helpful, but some of them aren't. And in hypnosis, we help people to shift those patterns by building new helpful ways of thinking.
That's very interesting, because it's not something that I've really given, I guess, great consideration to, with regards to the subconscious and the role that the subconscious will play in decision making, in the decision making process, whether it's me as a leader, as a father, as a friend. Whether somebody is going to engage with hypno, do we need to pay more attention to our subconscious?
I think so. They say that 90 to 95% of what goes on in the brain happens subconsciously. So that's a massive proportion. I think it's really worthwhile paying attention to it. And if you can, if you're open to it, then using hypnotherapy to direct it in a way that's more helpful and more supportive for you in your role.
So, Alison, again, and I'm going to keep on referring back to my own experiences, because they're my lived experiences. I have lied to myself in the past. I have told myself I am fine, I am Superman, I do not get sick, I do not suffer with burnout, stress, or any of these things. But again, upon reflection, when I look back, without a shadow of a doubt, I have suffered with burnout. I've always been one of those people who have struggled to switch off. If I go on holiday, my phone is with me, I am still checking in on emails, I'm still making sure everything is okay. And I have always known that is not, and I've always taught people, do not be like me, but I've never been able to stop that for myself. And that has resulted in me having no energy, therefore my decision making becomes poorer, I become less productive, and so forth. Are there techniques within hypnotherapy that could have helped me during those times to prevent myself from becoming burnt out, or to manage my stress better?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's techniques that I use with clients in the therapy room, and there's other techniques that I give people that they can use in their daily lives. One thing that's used in hypnotherapy, so in hypnotherapy you have there's talk therapy. There's the brain-based therapy where we refer to neuroscience to give people an understanding of what's happening in their brains. And then there's the hypnosis part. And the hypnosis part of the session is where the change really happens. And people tell me that's the first time that they've truly ever really relaxed in a long while. When we're constantly thinking, planning and making decisions, our brain waves are moving at a really fast pace. And what hypnosis does is it slows the brain waves down and it helps to guide the mind into a state that closely resembles the REM stage of sleep. And the REM stage is the stage when we naturally process emotions and events of the day. And it's a really deep state, and it gives the brain a chance to catch up and restore balance. It's a bit like a mental declutter. And that's something that leaders especially can benefit from.
I like the thought of a mental declutter. And so within those, I guess, just looking at those techniques then, if there is somebody who is listening to this right now who isn't brave enough to reach out to you or to a hypnotherapist to take that first step, but they are really struggling to declutter their mind, what would you say to them? What advice would you give to that individual?
It would advise them to firstly listen to my hypnosis recording in the evenings when it's time to go to sleep. Just before you go to sleep, you enter a brainwave state called the theta state, which is where your brainwaves slow down and you're most receptive to suggestion. And in my recording, there's a lot of lovely metaphors that are uplifting and that help rewire them to be more positive. Also, I would say every morning, before you even get out of bed, think about something that you're grateful for and write it down. And at the end of each day, think of 3 things that have gone well in your day and write those things down. These little techniques help to rewire the mind to be more positive and to actually look for the positives in our lives. When we're highly stressed, it's really difficult to see any positives in anything. You're just running on empty, just trying to get through the day and not noticing the good things around you. So these techniques will really help shift you out of that kind of fight, flight, freeze response, which comes from the primitive part of the brain that hasn't evolved since we lived in caves, to that intellectual part of the brain that is more rational, more positive, and that can lead with confidence.
I mean, a fantastic answer. I feel like I should be paying for this. Now I feel like I'm in therapy. This is brilliant. I think that's an absolute nugget for people to take away and to give it a go. Make sure you give it a go. I'll be giving it a go tonight. So make sure you guys out there are giving it a go too. Listen, one of the things that I do with my channel and one of the things I'm trying to affect with my followers is I look out for the small guy. Well, I want to champion the minority person, whether that's the minority person based on a demographic of age, race, gender, but I want to give them extra help to try and climb that career ladder and to achieve their career goals. So with that in mind, how do you cultural backgrounds influence the effectiveness of hypnotherapy in leadership development?
Cultural backgrounds can definitely impact how hypnotherapy works for leadership development. People from different cultures might have different ways of dealing with stress, for example, and how they express emotions. In some cultures, there's more focus on teamwork and collective well-being, which could shape how a leader approaches their role. And the lovely thing about hypnotherapy is it's completely flexible and it can be tailored to suit anyone's values and mindset, which will help them work through challenges in a way that feels authentic for them.
Oh, fantastic! And I couldn't agree more in the differences and nuances between different cultures. I know, being of Nigerian descent, I have grown up in a culture, and I don't say this proudly. It's a matter of fact where mental health was not a thing. It just did not exist. There was something wrong with you. There was something wrong with you if you were not feeling happy and you were kind of forced to smile. But this is why I reach out and I share these personal stories, because I want you, listener, out there to know that there are differences in cultures, but that doesn't mean that there isn't help out there that can help you because of the culture that you're from. And I think Alison has given a perfect synopsis of that there. So Alison, one of the things, I mean, I keep on referring back to myself, and yeah, I've had an illustrious career. I've been a senior leader for a long period of time, but you must have clients of your own who you are working with who have benefited from hypnotherapy. Are there any examples you could give?
Oh yeah, there's loads. I mean, I work with people right from the very beginning of their career up to director level business owners and everyone in between. One example is I worked with a lady who was climbing the corporate ladder. She's at the start of her career, early 20s, and she came to me struggling with stress. You know, at that age, you're getting your head around lots of new things at work, new people, different personalities. And she was feeling really overwhelmed by the pressure of juggling new responsibilities. And she often found herself reacting impulsively or going into that freeze mode in high stress situations. And after some hypnotherapy sessions, she was able to stay a lot calmer under pressure and able to improve her focus. And she actually then enjoyed tasks like giving presentations, which before that she hated.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing to see the shift in her and to hear her saying she actually enjoyed giving a presentation and wanted to do more.
Fantastic.
Yeah. There's another guy who he worked in a fast-paced tech company, and he came to me because he constantly felt like he was just winging it. You know, that imposter syndrome had crept in, despite years of experience and positive feedback that he'd had from his colleagues. But he'd always panic before big meetings and he'd second guess everything. But through our sessions, he then was able to shift his focus from that fear of being found out to recognizing his achievements and, you know, realizing actually I am doing a good job and I'm good at this, you know. And after a few weeks, he was then able to go into those big meetings with his head up high, speaking up and feeling a lot more confident without overthinking everything.
And with that example then, what did you work on specifically with that individual that led to the outcome being him feeling more confident and being able to lead those meetings?
Well, in solution focused hypnotherapy, one of the theories is that people have all the strength that they need within them, but this is sometimes clouded over by when those responses come in from the primitive part of the brain. It's like a dark cloud covering the sky, you know, but we all have those resources within us. We've got that confidence in there somewhere. We just need help getting it out of us. They say there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. So what hypnotherapy helps to do is it helps you to access your resources that are within you already.
Right. And I guess my final piece on this then, because obviously you're out there, you are helping many people. This is all personal development, isn't it? This is people developing themselves to be a better version of themselves. Have you always engaged personally with personal development, or was it only when you fell upon hypnotherapy that personal development became something that you had a stronger belief in?
I'd say for many years before I found out about hypnotherapy, I was reading self-help books and watching videos. I've had a genuine interest in self-development for a long time.
Alison, anxiety is something that plays a huge part in people's lower mood. Are there people out there who you have seen, who you've helped, who have suffered specifically with being anxious in a role?
Yes, I have. I have many clients that come to me with anxiety. One particular client that I can think of now is a guy who came to me. He was quite newly graduated, in his early 20s, and he started in a job that was in an industry that he didn't really enjoy. His dad had basically got him a job in an industry that it wasn't really what he wanted to do, in a role that he didn't really like. So he felt very anxious every day going into the office. He felt like a bit of a fraud and he really wanted to change roles. Working with me gave him confidence in his role to the point where they actually gave him a promotion. But because he didn't want to work in that role, he then started looking for other jobs and he interviewed for some other jobs and actually secured one that was a lot more aligned with his interests and passions. So that was a really lovely case to help him on that journey, and his anxiety reduced massively because once he got this new job that he actually enjoyed, he was feeling great. He was feeling calm and confident and really enjoying that job again.
And how's the relationship with his father?
It's good. His father realised that, you know, he was a square peg in a round hole in this other job, and it wasn't fair on him to pressure him to be working in that role when, yeah, it just wasn't for him.
Yeah, and one of the things I often say to people that I work with is You're the person that is living your life. I think there will be many voices and many opinions and many people who will have an opinion on what you should and shouldn't do, but you've got to remember it's you who has to go out and do it. So whilst I do believe in seeking counsel from those who your loved ones and close friends, always remember you're at the end of the day, you're the person who has to live that life. And so do as you see fit. When I asked you the question around how to prevent burnout, you said people should listen to your recordings. How do they do that?
They can go onto my website, which is www.bloom-hypnotherapy.com. Go on to free hypnosis page and sign up for my newsletter, and then I will pin you my recording. And you'll also get a monthly newsletter with lots of tips and tricks and techniques that are going to really help you thrive in the workplace and outside as well.
Brilliant. I really appreciate having you here today. There is one final question that I have not spoken to you about. You do not know about this question, but it's something that I ask every guest that I have on the podcast, and it's simple. If you were sat in a room with 20-year-old Alison and she asked you what are the next 10, 15, 20 years going to be like from a work perspective, what would you say to her?
I would say they're going to be completely different to how you imagine them to be. There's going to be highs and lows, big curveballs. You're going to be doing things that you would never have imagined in places that you've never been to and you could never expect to live in. You're going to build so much resilience through the hard times, and all those lows are going to make you so much stronger. And keep an open mind and enjoy the journey.
Keep an open mind and enjoy the journey. What a great way to finish. Alison, really appreciate your time. Everybody, make sure you check out Alison. She's left her details. I'll also make sure that it's in the bio too. Really appreciate speaking to you today, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Take care now.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.